Hello and welcome to Project Guts. In this video we'll be going over a very basic program, typically the first one that we do with to learn the tool StarLogo Nova, and it's called Flower Turtles or Flower Power. And we're in a new project, and you can see that we have our green spaceland here, and we have two widgets, the setup and the forever, but when we click them nothing happens, and that's because we have to go down and look at the code, and we can see that there's no code in any of these pages. And so that's what our project is going to do, is we're going to have a basic project where we create some turtles, and they are going to move and leave a trail behind them in the pattern of a flower. And so we're going to start off here in the world page, and this is where we're going to create the agents that we want. Think about the environment, the terrain, and such that we want right when it starts. And that is done by using the setup button. And so we bring out this green block here from interface, and it's when blank pushed, and we're going to select from the menu here and when setup is pushed, and this setup is going to correspond to this setup button up here in the upper left. And so right now there's no code that goes with that, but that's what we're going to do inside here, is we're going to add code that'll tell the computer what to do when that button is pushed. So we go into we want to think about best practices for when we start projects, and typically we want to go into agents and get the a block called delete everyone, and this deletes any of the turtles or agents that were there before. Then we go into environment, and we'll want to get a clear terrain, and this clear terrain is basically what it does is it sets everything back to this green spaceland. So if there are any patterns or any changes to the terrain, it clears it back to that. So this is when the setup button is pushed, it'll delete everyone, then the terrain will get back to that green, and now we can go ahead and create what we want. And we go back into agents, and we will pull out this second one, second block called create do. And there's a space here for create, and this wants us to put a number in. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to have 5 turtles. So we put in the number 5, and we can, there's a choice here, and at this point we only can choose from turtles. In the future videos you'll learn more about adding some breeds, but for now we have turtles, and in here we could put some more information if we wanted to, or we could just create these 5 turtles. And what does that look like? So we can go up here, we can hit save, run code, and now we'll hit setup. And you'll see that there's a grayish blotch that has appeared, and that is actually our turtles. We can zoom in on that and see them, but they are all set up on top of each other, and so they always are created in the middle of Spaceland, and in our case we'd like to separate them out, and so we're going to put something in this do. We're going to go to movement, and we're going to get a forward, and so we're going to move them forward by 3 steps, and so this space here wants a number, so we put the 3 in there, and so this is going to separate them so that we can see them. So we're going to hit run code, setup, and now we have them created. You can see that there are 5 of them, and by having them step forward they are separated, and they're always going to start in the center, and they are always going to be a grayish white block at the start. So we have our setup working, and now we want to think about action and the movement of these turtles to get them to move around and leave a pattern in the shape of a flower. And so we're going to go to the turtle page here, and we're going to go back to interface, and we'll get a block here, the while blank toggled. And this block here is going to, we have a choice, and in this case we'll get the forever. So while forever toggled. So the information in this block is going to correspond to this widget called forever. So when this widget is activated, the series of information inside will occur, and it will go on and on and on until toggled off. So we can toggle the forever on and toggle it off, and that's different than this one, which is for the setup, when setup is pushed. So inside here is things that we relate to in terms of action. And so we want our turtles to move around, and so we go into movement and we get a forward, and so they will move forward, and we'll just do one step at a time, and we want them to go a certain amount do a turn, and they'll all turn the same amount. And this block here, left by blank DEGS, and this stands for degrees, so we can get our turtles to turn a certain amount of degrees to the left, and in this case we'll put in 15. And so they will move around and turn at a regular degrees for every step. But what we'd like to do is be able to see this pattern, and we go into environment, and we want the turtles to put their pen down. And you can think of this as, some sort of trail that they leave behind, and that's going to be called pen down. And so we can go up and look and see what this looks like. So save, run code, we'll set up, just make sure, and then forever. And you can see that the action is that they are moving forward and turning by 15 degrees for every step, and it creates this nice little circle and our very basic flower pattern. So these are the flower turtles, the flower power that we have. And what you could do as an extension is to just play around. What does it look like with more turtles? Or can you get them to make a bigger flower rather than this small one here? Can you get them to make a different shape? So play around with the code. You have the basics going already, but just go down here and play around with things in the forever as well as the world, and see what you can do and what interesting patterns you can come up with. Thanks very much, and happy coding.